Good evening here from New Rochelle, New York at Iona College. This is the URugby Bowl Series for 2016. I'm John Broker. I'm here with Alex Goff from Golf Rugby Report and Ryan Trost from This is American Rugby. We're going to bring you a great pre-show. Right behind us here, I got first up tomorrow, American International College. Boys, you ready? Yeah. All right. We have a fantastic two-day tournament coming up here, and these boys are going to be filtering out as they just went through their practice. But, you know, we're going to go through the history of the Bowl Series. We're going to go through some of the key players to watch. We're going to make our predictions. Don't know if you boys want to be here for that. But, you know, we're up for a great weekend of rugby. So, you know, we're here at Iona College, and here set in New Rochelle. Great liberal arts school is going to be this year. But this Bowl Series has a good history, Alex.
Well, you know, AIC's been a part of it because they've been in all three of them because they recognize what is really useful about this, which is you're going to, you know, cap fall. You know, you've been playing the same teams, you know, week in, week out, year in, year out. You want to play somebody different. AIC comes out. They always want to play. You guys ready to challenge people, right? Yeah, exactly. Let's play somebody different and see what you did to Clemson last night. And they get to play the hosts this year. Iona, a very tough game. But it's the sort of thing where let's do something different. Let's challenge ourselves. Yeah?
I agree, yeah. It's definitely meeting teams that you haven't met before and seeing what you have, because you play your conference schedule and you know where you are in your conference. You might know where your conference is compared to other conferences. So there's some really interesting changes there with Rugby East challenging RC teams, some Empire teams, so you can really get a balance of where those middle tier and higher tier teams are. All
right, let's talk about, I mean, just some of these teams in general. We got, you know, what you're expecting weekend, and we're going to get to game by game in a little bit, but Iona AIC, Temple, University of Mary Washington, an up-and-coming school, Stony Brook Rutgers, all on Saturday. Sunday, Delaware Fordham, UMass Buffalo, Binghamton Loyola. You know, what are we looking at here in the growth of rugby in America, Alex and Ryan? Looking at and expecting from this weekend?
Well, I think what you're getting is you're getting a lot of players in college rugby who played rugby in. I know we've got a couple of guys back here. I know we got a freshman here who's a pretty great player in high school and looking good. And we get that in a lot of these teams, right? So that they're coming in expecting something more from their, whether it's team or varsity team or club sport, quasi-varsity, they're expecting a lot more of it. And the coaches are trying to respond. So what the Bowl Series does is say, okay, let's go travel and play somebody, and let's lose to someone, right? Let's get knocked around, let's get punched in the mouth, because that's what we're here for, is not to put on the jersey and strut around campus, is to actually strut around the field and you know, prove yourself on the field.
Absolutely.
Yeah, go ahead. Just take the mic.
Thanks, Alex. Thanks for that.
Anything can happen.
Yeah, that's right.
So, yeah, I agree. I think this weekend is really going to be about challenging your own game, learning how to adjust to things that you haven't seen before, players you haven't seen before, and competition that you haven't seen before. You know, you got teams who like to hit each other in the mouth and teams who like to play more cerebral or more speedy. And they haven't seen each other other than film, so there's going to be a lot of on-the-fly adjustment stuff that's going to be fun to watch.
All right, absolutely. And, you know, just fantastic players have come up through this. Bryce Campbell, Indiana, played the last couple of years, and he's away with the Eagles right now. And, you know, a couple players playing pro right now. You know, we have somebody behind us here that we're going to bring out is Jihad Kabir has had some higher-level experience. Is he here?
Come and say.
But Alex, let's talk about some of the, you know, what we can expect to see this weekend.
I'm going to ask him a question, all right? So Jihad, and we don't want to.
We're putting Jihad on the spot, by the way.
Well, you're all tired of hearing about Jihad, but you've been to the USA Sevens camp a couple of times, right? So AIC gets sort of a little bit of springboard from this Bowl Series, I think. A little bit of exposure. You get some exposure. Tell me what it was like at USA camp.
Oh, well. The biggest thing I took from it was the coaching, phenomenal coaching. Coach Friday is an awesome coach. He's like the best coach I've had so far. And just take
the best coach.
Yeah, my favorite part was just taking tips from the camp and bringing it back to the boys and giving them the knowledge from the top level coaches.
You get a taste of it now.
Yeah.
How does that feel?
I'm just trying to soak up everything. Playing with the top players, Perry Baker, Marty Yusefa, Maka, is a great experience, and I'm just trying to soak everything in.
Superb.
Sounds
so
good.
The kind of guy we're seeing in the bowl series.
All right, we're going to see how it goes this
Nice job.
weekend.
Good.
Guys, I know you got stuff to do. AIC, good luck tomorrow. And, you know, we look forward to the bowl series.
Good job, guys.
Good, guys.
Good luck.
Now, just in general with these teams, guys, you know, what kind of other players are we looking at? Is there anybody that kind of stands out for you in these teams, just overall, that people should be looking out for this weekend that you think is going to rise?
Well, according to coaches, you know, everybody has somebody, right? With UMass, they've got a kid named Brendan Kelly who they think is a very special player. He's going to be playing back, whereas in other years you might have seen him at fly half. He's moved over to fullback because they have a freshman who stepped in for him at fly half that has done phenomenally this year. So they've got a nice combination going there all through the back line. They've got some big boys. For Buffalo, you know, everybody loves to look at and watch Singh, Maninderjit Singh, with that flowing locks. But they've got a number of guys in the back row that can do damage as well. A lot of interesting characters on that team, too. I'm looking forward to talking about them and really watching them go on the field.
All right, where you're coming from, any big players here?
Well, you know, with the first game, we talked about AIC. Iona's going to bring a lot to their home field. John Petteruti, their number 8, central to that team, you know, emotionally, physically, all of that stuff. You know, I've got my list down here, a bunch of guys that are pretty exciting. Alex Clegg, very interesting character there at Mary Washington, played for Finland.
Really?
And he's the student body president as well as the fly half. It's like he's the fly half for the entire campus.
This is going to be the first Finnish international I've ever seen actually play the game of rugby, so this should be pretty,
No,
pretty
good. It would be good, and very exciting situation for him. And we have a few other guys like Brian Michel for Stony Brook, a long lanky runner, exciting guy. Kind of sometimes a feast or famine guy, but let's hope we get a little bit of a feast from him.
Right.
Yeah, and that's another team that's going to be very fun to watch too, because you know they did really well the past couple years in the bowls. They lost a number of really big, strong seniors, and now this year's kind of a rebuilding year. How's Brian done with kind of leading that team from way back like that? He is an exciting player. I love watching him too. Northeast Academy guy. I love those guys.
All right. And I think, you know, other guys to look for, Mike Ruther, you got to talk about, a big 6'8" lock from UMass.
Right, your big 6'8" lock from UMass, who another guy who got exposed partly in the bowl series. You know, you say, okay, we know what you're doing in the ECRC, but let's see you perform against someone else. He a call-up to the All-Americans. He goes on tour with the All-Americans, a big deal for him. You don't see an awful lot from certain, you know, we see a lot of All-Americans touring in the team from California and Utah. Okay, fine. But great to see a UMass guy get on there. A guy I talked to recently, really enjoyed talking to him. Nick Coppola is a prop for Binghamton. Not a big guy. I think he said he was 5'10". I think I think he's in his cleats when he's 5'10". But sort of guy, really, really hard-nosed, really hard-working guy. A good pedigree from the New York area. I think you'll enjoy watching him play.
All right. And, you know, the standard of rugby just keeps improving in the country. So, all right, I mean, that kind of does it for our bowl series, you know, kind of overview right here. And we're just going to take a time to thank some of our sponsors as we move on. And, you know, this bowl series overview is brought to you by 4x3. From major universities to small businesses and nonprofits, 4x3 strives to create quality custom web solutions, design, and contents for its clients. For more information, visit 4x3.net. So I think we're going to move on to some of the matchups here, guys, and really talk through what we're going to see. And then I'm going to force these guys to pick them. So it's going to be pretty interesting, you know, as we move on. But, you know, first up tomorrow morning, we just saw AIC behind us. A great program we'll talk about right now. You know, is going to take on Iona, the home team. That's going to be tomorrow morning at 10. We have some high school games we'll talk about interspersed in that. You know, there's going to be 6 matchups all weekend. But, you know, we got Iona, we got AIC. We have an ECRC versus Rugby East matchup. And I don't know, you know, you guys are just full of knowledge right here. So let's see what you have to say about these teams.
So AIC, right, they've been ranked very high for very long. And this is kind of like their swan song year, you might think. Seniors on that team. Jihad's, I think, a junior, but, you know, Corey Momson's a senior, Skylar Adams, Warren is a senior. A lot of leadership going to be going out the door, and they might not have been as impressive this year as they were in the past, but at that last game against Binghamton, they sure were. So they're kind of hitting their peak right when they want to hit their peak. So it's going to be a tough battle for Iona. Iona, we know, Really, really good defense, really workmanlike, really tough kids. But they're going to be up against it this week.
Well, I like Iona's chances. I think they're going to go right up in their face. I think the one thing about AIC is the connection 10, 12, 13. So if they disrupt 10, 12, 13, ball hits the deck, a lot of things can happen from that. So I really like Iona's approach, which is they're going to hit them very hard and get them down. You miss one tackle, on. Right, we know this, so they got to make every single one. But you know Iona's going to scrum well. You know Iona's going to hit hard. And, you know, they're going to follow their game plan, even if it's not the sexiest game plan in the world. And AIC is, I guess, to follow the analogy, a pretty sexy team. So I think probably AIC. I've got them ranked higher. I've got them ranked at 13 and Iona at 27 for teams in the fall. Really accurate, but Iona could get them.
All right.
I have another point with that. And I'm glad you brought that up about hitting them in the mouth and coming up and being physical and getting in their face. I spoke to Phil Ciccarelli with UMass. He talked about that's exactly the way that he wants to play AIC. You want to get them yelling at each other. He said, you hit them in the mouth, get them yelling at each other. Now you have a chance. You let them get their tails up, it's over.
Yep. So let's talk about these programs just a little bit in terms of, like, we mentioned Bruce McLean. He's just done a great job here at Iona. You know, the really came in, the school had no idea who he was. Now they're hosting the bowl. He's got a really good relationship going on with here. You know, as we said, no Bruce McLean coach team is going to be afraid to go up and hit people. That's, you know, this is what Bruce does. And we have Rob Gyree. He's an interim head coach. You know, Josh Macy really built the AIC program. Interim for now. Okay? But, you know, nonetheless, he's doing a great job. He's got a great team. He's going forward. But so there's been a change in coaching and a real up-and-coming steady team. How do you think that affects these teams?
Well, I think in the end, having Rob Gyree there with AIC all the way through and not dealing with, well, you know, for whatever reason, not dealing with the interim thing and just letting him go through the season, I think has been positive. Probably the smart move in the end, whether it was decided beforehand or not, I don't know. I think they needed a little bit of consistency, those guys, and they've blossomed somewhat. He's had to make a few changes. He's had to deal with some stuff. You know, keeping guys in that. Both of them actually have some issues with keeping guys on the field. So I think he's done a good job. The consistency is good.
All right.
You know, Bruce McLean, dealt with Bruce a long time. We were co-hosts on the Rugged Matrix show. He's, you know, he may be hilarious and fun, and we can laugh about certain things. He's very, very serious rugby man. And the thing about McLean is he knows so much, but he's still smart enough to pare it all down and say, you guys don't know enough yet to do any of that stuff. Let's not do it. Let's not even worry about it. Let's just worry about defense, set piece, field position, right? Get that down, and we'll worry about the rest of the stuff later.
And you're exactly right. He's smart enough to pare that down, and he does that when he needs to. Like early this year, he was trying to instill a different attack than what they were used to this year. Didn't work, and he was quick enough to say, all right, we got to go back to what we do right, get these guys right on the right page. Bruce, you know, history, USA Rugby history, I mean, there's few smarter, I think, you know, as gruff as he might put this
is the sweetest voice in American rugby you're talking about, Bruce.
I love listening to him. I can listen to him for quite a while. Rob Gyree, though, he's also a student of the game. He's an interesting character. He was a founder of the Western New England Rugby Club while coaching them. Now he's come over as an assistant coach to Josh Macy before at AIC. Now he's the interim head coach, probably going to be the head coach. He's done a lot as far as upping his game, studying his game, and that's what it has to be. You know, that's how it has to be. And I think we see a lot of these coaches doing the right moves, upping the game.
All right.
And yes, he was the guy from The Biggest Loser, by the way.
He was a guy from The Biggest Loser. Yeah. So he's got a famous history behind him. Key players?
Jihad Kabir is a game changer. He is such a great step. He is so fast. So it's just about the distribution. Corey Momsen up front, very important. Matty Jones, their number 8. That's all AIC guys. You know, the guys I got for Iona, now they're going to be missing a couple of guys. A little bit of a disciplinary issue internal, so you may not hear a couple of names you're expecting, but I said Petteruti, number 8.
Yep.
And the Delara brothers, John and Nick. John, I believe, is moving to hooker for this weekend. Very, very hardworking, small for their position. Very hardworking guys.
Yep. Strong, hardworking guys. And I agree with you, Petteruti, Delara, always part of the key. I think that, too, with a lot of the shakeups, another guy who's always a key for Iona, Mike Scarcella, runs the defense in the back line. Aggressive kid. I like the way he plays. Mike Morrow, I think, too, is always a key. He knows when to step and when to distribute. So I think that is going to be key, too, to hold on to that ball and keep AIC honest.
All right, great. So then we're going to move on to our next, but, again, we're going to go back to one of our sponsors. So this little last segment was sponsored by Hilton Westchester. Accommodation, the Hilton Westchester has you covered. As the official hotel sponsor of the 2016 Bowl Series, the Hilton is offering special room rates. Enjoy free standard Wi-Fi, complimentary local shuttle service, indoor and outdoor swimming. Call the Hilton today.
I don't know about the outdoor swimming pool today.
I said indoor and outdoor, so we'll
go
see if that works later. So, all right, here again, guys, we're going to talk about our next matchup after this. It's going to be somebody, teams that aren't always heard of and on the radar so much is Temple versus University of Mary Washington. But great stories, really good stories, a lot of things going on.
Temple's great because and I've done it. I'm completely guilty. Temple, I'm sorry. I've discounted you many times. I just say you're not going to win the sevens tournament, the sevens series in the spring. You go and win the conference sevens thing. You're not really a factor in the 15s playoffs. Guess what? You go beat Pitt, who is undefeated. You go beat them. So actually, the Pitt wasn't undefeated. They were 2-1, but the reason that
Close enough.
Temple were 1-2 in the very short conference season, but those two losses were very, very close. Then they go beat Pitt. Suddenly you realize that they're actually a factor. I had to rank them. I didn't have them ranked. And that's the sort of thing that Temple does. Is like, you count us out, we'll go play. They always play good team rugby. They're not big. They've had some All-Americans before. I remember doing the play-by-play in a D2 national final with them, with Gareth Jones, remember, All-American. They'll do that. Mary Washington, they're building something very, very nice there on campus. They've got a partnership with the Leicester Tigers. There are a couple of Leicester kids actually playing for them, along with the Finnish national team player. And they've got their field in the middle of town there, in the middle of campus, and they're one of those teams it's not varsity, might as well be. They're acting like it. I like them a lot. It'll be really interesting to see how they play. So I just hogged the whole time of it.
Actually,
we'll see.
I'll admit, you know more about both of these teams than I could possibly, but I have a question for you, actually. So when I was looking at the schedules, what Temple did was they had a pretty short schedule.
Yeah.
Mary Washington, they've played, 8, 9, 10 games? So where do you think that fits? They've got more experience on the year. They've seen more things. They've been up against it. They've been over it. They have a little bit higher winning percentage. Where do you think that does for the matchup?
I think it's a huge problem for the Keystone that they have a 3-game league season. Then they do quarterfinals, and then it's a semifinal final the next weekend. If you lose the quarterfinals, it's 4 games. You're done.
4-game season.
And everybody makes the playoffs. So all 8 teams play in the quarterfinals. So it really doesn't have that urgency. It doesn't have. There are good games and there's competitive games, but I don't think anybody is happy with a 3-game season. The great thing about Mary Washington is that they're in the Chesapeake Conference. So the Chesapeake Conference was born out of a bunch of teams all came together, and I was at one of those little meetings at the D2 National Championships last year where they came together and said, we're not getting enough tough games, whoever we're playing in. We're not getting any B-side games. We're getting too many forfeits. We want to play people who are near, and we're driving past schools that would play us. So that was like Towson and Salisbury in Division 2. That was Mary Washington Division 2. Mount St. Mary's in the small college league. But then you also have Maryland and Virginia Tech, James Madison from Division 1. And they all came together and said, we want to play really, really hard games. The Chesapeake, we'll see what it does. I would think logically, the Chesapeake schedule, 7 really tough games. Mary Washington was 5-2 in that. Never an easy out. Maryland, I think, was like 2-5 and 4 of those 5 losses was, this is off the top of my head, so I may get wrong. 4 of those 5 losses were by a try or less. I mean, it's that sort of thing. Towson, the same deal. So I think that they would benefit from that, and I would say Mary Washington will be stronger and tougher and more hardened than Temple. But I'm sorry, I keep counting you out, Temple. I really apologize. So I'm doing it again.
We'll see where it comes back to when we go back to, you know, our kind of pick 'em here. So we have this kind of, you know, conference difference here. The games, playing less games, looking to structure your conference, looking to do things a little better. I mean, are there any kind of players or any kind of things coming out of this, Ryan, that you see as a...
Well, this one I have to defer to Goff. I haven't had a chance to do my interview, my diligence on this one. So this is his matchup for me. Sorry, bud.
In terms of players?
Any players?
Well, you know, I don't know. I'm going to say Fernando Mirson Hooker from Mary Washington. He's an interesting guy, a good athlete. Will probably score some tries. I think he may actually be on the bench. We'll see some guys. A couple of guys from Leicester. Alex Clay, their fly half.
All right.
Watch out for that. Team play from Temple. It's all about everybody.
Okay, we'll be bringing more of this before the games tomorrow. So, you know, there is our Keystone versus Chesapeake matchup. That's tomorrow at noon. And then tomorrow afternoon at 2, we are going to have Stony Brook versus Rutgers, 2 teams that we know a bit about here. We have Empire, again, versus Keystone. We have a Jerry Miro-led team in Stony Brook, one of my absolute favorites out there, Jerry Miro. And Rutgers, sort of an up and down history in the last few years, but really, kids are looking to build something. A lot of people looking to structure that program. You know, guys, what are we talking about with these 2 teams? What are we talking about with the matchup? What do we see?
Well, I'll defer to Ryan a little bit on some of this stuff. I'll just say about Stony Brook, they are a great friend of the Bowl Series, and this is their 3rd time out. They always pitch up. They always come to play. They have had a little bit of turnover, but I've just you know, they're young, they're a little bit inexperienced. They're always here.
So yeah, Stony Brook again is about 500 this year, right?
Yeah.
They look good one week. They look beatable the next week, right? And they end up about the middle of their Empire Conference. So it does matter like which Empires or which Stony Brook is going to show up. Is Jerry going to have the boys psyched up and ready to rock, or are they going to be a little bit tentative, with some of them being a little bit younger? I don't know all the players. Again, I need to talk to Jerry tonight. Rutgers, I think, is pretty dang good. I think they've been good in the past, and they're pretty good again this year. I think they're 7-1, and they don't look like they're stumbling much, and they like to hit people. They like to come hard, and it's going to be a fierce battle. If you know Jerry Myra, I think, you know, Stony Brook's going to be ready to battle, but I think Rutgers is going to be pretty strong.
Yeah, Jerry's bringing a pretty young team, but he's bringing a team that is going to be ready to have it go. You know, he's bringing a team. I mean, Rutgers is going to have, you know, a bigger pool to pick from, and they're going to have some really good players there. I mean, it is the de facto University of New Jersey. You know, it's their state university. Big population on campus, you know, playing in those conferences. How about the difference between like kind of the Empire and the Keystone Conference? Like, what kind of competition do they face that's going to give them the experience coming in this weekend?
For Rutgers, St. Joseph was the team that beat them, and that is a very skilled, smart team. Likes to use the boot, punishes penalties. So that's something that keeps them disciplined, keeps them honest, really. Stony Brook, and we talked about the Empire Conference was just crazy this year. 7 teams, 3 of them were 4-2, 3 of them were 3-3. And there were teams that would, like I said, looked so great one week, they'd win on the road by 20 and then lose 3-0 at home or something like that. It was insane. So, and we'll talk about it again with Fordham. It was so stressful in a sense. I think it's good for them in there. There are a couple of names, by the way. Jed Hendrickson is a really good lock for Stony Brook. Have a look for him. Mike Nesgoda is your fullback for Rutgers. He's a guy who gets some points. And Nick Dillon up front. Have a look for him as well. So I like him.
No, I would agree. I think it's Rutgers game, but I want to see what Myro can bring. Yeah.
All right, see what Jerry's got. So. All right, we're just going to go, talk about one more sponsor here as we keep going. Boathouse Sports has been a Bowl Series sponsor since the start, as we show right here. I wish I was wearing one. Founded in 1985 by two-time Olympic rower John Strobeck, Boathouse Sports designs and manufactures high-quality performance athletic apparel in Philadelphia. For more information about custom rugby apparel, visit boathouse.com. We have our Saturday matchups, right? Day 1.
That was Saturday, yeah.
We're going to come back to our pick 'em in a little while here, but let's talk about Sunday. Still here at Iona, first thing in the morning at 10 a.m. We're going to see a Rugby East team in Delaware take on Fordham, an Empire team. Two interesting programs here, two good schools, and there's going to be an awful lot to watch here. I'm really looking forward to this one myself, having known these two schools' history. What do you guys think about this matchup?
Well, I love Delaware. I love what Delaware has done over the past few years. If anybody knows the story, having been suspended, come back, and they're back on track. They've had a struggle this year, though. No wins yet. They've lost to an Empire Conference team. They have lost out in Rugby East, but they've gotten better throughout the weeks. They've been better able to put points on the board throughout the weeks. Stuart Murray is a very positive coach. He's got a lot of young guys from that suspension. He's still got mostly sophomores and freshmen. The graduating seniors this year are going to be hard to replace. So looking to see if they can just get out there and play and see if those young guys can step up, take that pressure off of them so they don't feel like they have to direct as much and get out there and really play and do what they can do. Fordham, I think, is also very strong. I think they're stronger than their record suggests. Some who have played them have said that they were actually much stronger than they expected them to be, and they expected Fordham to win that conference, and when they didn't, they were pretty surprised.
All right.
Fordham was one of the 4-2 teams. They missed out on that final game because of the tiebreaker. They might have won it had they been in that thing. Max Zitnik from the flanker. Fordham, he's a good player. Nate Fisher, kicker. I think they're going to need him. Delaware, it was so difficult. The suspension was 5 years, which was cut back down to 2. When people hear 5 years, it's really hard to say we're going to be playing at some point. So it is this intense situation, and we're going to come out and play, and they come out and they carry themselves right. University sees them carry themselves well, so that is all very positive for the Blue Hens. Love those guys that they're playing.
Blue Hens versus the Rams. Great morning matchup there for us. Here in the Bowls. Let's talk about that team a little bit there. From something out there is I had the opportunity to watch him play and the opportunity to see Chris Matino last year. Back playing the Bowl series last year against Iona and the team here, and I think he scored 4 tries. Right, this is just outstanding college level player. The New York Athletic Club and other things like that was a true on that team. I mean, they've come back this year, really built something. Do you think they're kind of rebuilding that loss of leadership?
Leadership is a huge thing, right? And Matino was a great off-field leader, and I think we're running into that. We're talking about Mary Washington's fly half being the student body president. We're talking about so many players through here, good students, members of their schools, become leaders, and Matino was a huge part of that. That's why most of these coaches do this, right? We're not making professional athletes for the most part. We're creating the future adults.
Yeah, and that's one of the best things you hear over these good programs, these good coaches, that their job is to create good people as well as successful players, and the people that they're recruiting, smart kids, kind, and kids who are go-getters like Chris. And I think Delaware does have that leadership coming up. We've got 2 freshmen that are pretty. Wilkins is a hooker, and Jake Davis at freshman also looks at fly half. Also, he's got the leadership gene.
We'll see. A nod to the student athlete there, which is really something that's special about this sport, and we're going to see a lot in this bowl series.
Important, and I think it's important to remember all groups of college students have their difficulties. They're try and help freshmen through it. Very, very difficult to show up and be a freshman and then say, oh, you're going to play college rugby. And college rugby is not, for the most part, varsity, so certain benefits, and you don't necessarily have like that. But you're and for me, that helps them blossom. For it's kind of overwhelming, and we shouldn't really fault them for that. 7 years kind of overwhelming for everybody. Those freshmen who come for juniors of the team, they're making, and that's great.
All right, yeah, and a lot of more kids coming out of high school too,
Yeah,
adding to that.
definitely.
That, you know, I have a base, and we're going to talk about the high school programs later and some of the coaches. You know, a lot of these players coming out of high school and really taking this more seriously. But we'll get to that, and it's really good things. You know, we're going to move on to UMass versus an ECRC versus Rugby East match. Apparently, this is going to be Ryan Schroth is going to be the guy who's going to talk about this one. But UMass, we talked about Mike Ruther. Hodgins, the coach of a long time, big affair. You know, we have a really interesting matchup here, Ryan.
Yeah, I really like what Hodgins is doing. I really do. I think that East, you can, and this is one of his quotes, so I can't say it. I agree with it. You can be a pretty dang good team and losing record. You know, it's tough. There's a lot of kids who have a lot of experience and a lot of fitness and a lot of UB is teams where they're on the rise, definitely on the rise. You know, they want to be higher than they are now. They're a little bit behind. They've got a couple that are leaving this year. They want to be higher when they left. That's something to want to show the nation that we came to Rugby East, right intentions, and we're on track. We're going to take some scalps.
To add to that. No, it's fine. It's fine. I have nothing to add to that. He's exactly right. It's tough in the Rugby East. I'll just say St. Bonaventure came a couple of years ago, 2-5 or something into the bowl series, won a game.
Yeah.
So UB could do it too.
So we're talking tough competition here in Rugby East, and you know, how the ECRC where UMass plays, we look at the level of competition in that conference.
There's a lot of people that think that right there with Rugby East. I think they're a little bit a step below that, right? Top 3, 4 that are close. I think that's going to be proven tomorrow, whether UMass at 3rd place in ECRC is up in as UB in 5th. So it's a great question, and we're going to get to find out tomorrow because of the series. So I'm looking. I know UMass is too. I know UMass is very confident, and they are very good.
Yeah, I saw them play a preseason game. They did look good.
Yeah.
Very strong.
Yeah, tied BC, right? No, that was AIC.
Yes.
Tied BC. And so, I mean, the only 2 losses they take are BC and AIC. They're coming hard too.
All right.
Well, Rugby East is better than the ECRC. I don't think there's any doubt at the top. I mean, Penn State is phenomenal this year. So, you know, put that out of your mind. But, you know, there's talking about D1A, which is Rugby East, bigger schools, usually a little bit more resourced programs. D1AA, more clubby. That is, more of the teams are club teams, and like true, not sort of quasi-varsity, will give you your jerseys, club sports. There is an overlap there. D1AA teams that will beat D1A teams. That's what we're looking for. That's to see who makes that. But at the top level, Rugby East, yeah, they're stronger.
All right. So we're going to move on to our last game. We're going to sponsor first in the Beachmont Tavern. Hungry? Check out Beachmont Tavern's extensive classic American comfort food. Thirsty? Beachmont Tavern offers a variety of draft and bottled beers. Local here at Iona, be sure to check out the specials. Go to beachmonttavern.com. You going to the Beachmont?
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready right now.
We may be there right
Is
after
it
this.
warm?
It's warm. Yeah, it's getting a little colder here out. It's going to be a beautiful weekend for rugby, though, so don't worry about that. But let's move on to our final, where we get to our pick'ems, and before we get to, a little preview of what's going on in high school rugby in America and some of the we're going to see this weekend, as well as some of the, the going to come around. But our last game here is going to be Binghamton versus Loyola. This is, Binghamton is an Empire team.
That is correct.
Good, I'm correct. That's great. Loyola, Maryland, these national small school conference, which is really just like an interesting concept, which, I know Alex knows a bit about. I'm going to be very interested. But, this one is fascinating for me because I just don't know as much about these. I had a player now down at Loyola. He was a very good player, and he's playing, Alejandro Castillo. But, other than that, I just don't know a lot about these teams. So, what should we be expecting?
Is actually the conference champions at Empire. They beat Syracuse 21-20 in the championship game. They were 4-2. Syracuse is 4-2. Fordham was 4-2. Stony Brook was 3-3. So all very, very close.
So apparently, I should know something about this team.
Well, I guess so. I guess Smooshed together. Binghamton's a tough team, and they play well up front. I mentioned Nick Coppola, the small but aggressive prop, very good player. Kevin Dublin's the coach is he's got guys playing well together. Hunter is an opportunistic player. Greg Linane, very fast. They've got some players. They again were one of those teams that every now and then would just kind of fumble it. They didn't put together a perfect fall. That's okay. We're going to see match up. Syracuse has gone to the USA Rugby playoffs. Binghamton here, it's going to be an interesting them. Loyola, well, they ran the table in their National Small College League, and they're going to the playoffs next week. This is kind of like a tune-up for them. And the thing about the small college, National Small College Rugby Organization, if you don't know, obviously it's with the enrollment. You got to. Now there are teams like St. Mary's of California who qualify for that. There's no way in the world they're going to play for that. St. Mary's will kill everybody in there. But it's such a great smaller colleges. They may not even have like a 4 or 5 game season. And great, my father was Babson College. Give a shout out to the Beavers. They play in that. They do. That's really good for them. But we also saw like Mount St. Mary's jump from NSCRO to Division I. We saw NEC, New England College, go to Division I and do very well. So just because you're small doesn't mean that your rugby team isn't doing, doesn't rugby. And you could even have a big squad. You could have 40 players from a small college.
Yeah, but I think it's these, these small colleges. Even Wheeling not that small, AIC not that small. Smaller schools are really picking up rugby. They're the future in some of the larger schools out there. And they're really, of rugby and seeing it as a way to attract good students and as a way, to really take something that's a massive sport in this country and just use it to their advantage. And I find that very exciting.
Yeah, and it's a interesting strategy too, because when you have small schools, you drive the attendance numbers through a sport like rugby, and the kids who are coming in who they're not going to play football, and they're not going to play basketball in college, right? Because there's so many. So now you can drive their attendance up through like rugby, especially now we have so many high school kids who have experience playing rugby. You've got a whole recruitment thing happening. Peter Vegeta is big on the placements as opposed to scholarships when you're looking for your college. So, yeah, the small schools is the way to go. NDC has scholarships going. AIC has scholarships going, so they're attracting kids that might not have gone to school otherwise.
It's not technically, NSCRO schools, but,
right,
smaller schools.
Smaller D1s.
So Loyola, Maryland, Binghamton, anything stand out for you in the matchup we should be looking for?
They're both conference champions, right? I think that Loyola looks pretty good. They've about a scratch on them this year. 6-1? That's what I got.
I think that was a tie. Maybe.
Yeah, was that a tie? Yeah. So, a lot of tries scored for these guys. I don't know the Potomac Conference as. Is this another one where we're going to find they are at the same level as the Empire Conference?
Yeah, they dominated, so that could mean that they're not sure what to do in a tough game. So we'll see.
All right, so one more sponsor mention: stiff neck, sore shoulder. Anybody? Check out Physical Therapy. New Rochelle PT believes in customized physical therapy to meet the individual needs of their patients. They want you to stay happy and healthy. To continue to play rugby, For more information, visit newrochellept.com. So I think, we're going to go to a commercial here, and then we are going to do our pick'ems. I'm going to put you guys in the spot. Things going to pull it out this weekend, and then we're going to talk some high school rugby soon, and it's going to be, a bit more to come.
Special is that it has everything that makes academic medicine great. We have the fellowship-trained specialists, but we still bring the style and type of medicine that's indicative of a community practice.
We are all trained in our area of interest and expertise, so our patients see a doctor who specializes in their particular injury.
I did
here
have
at the URugby Bowls
here, New York City hospitals, but I just felt that the care was best here. I was treated like a rock star. The surgery exceeded any expectations that I had.
Okay, we're back at the URugby Bowl Series. I'm John Broker, Alex Goff from Goff Rugby Report. Trost from This is American Rugby. Talk to the teams, talk to the series, talk to things, and in about a minute or so, I'm going to put you boys on the spot, see what you think. We're going to see where our predictions are going, and then we'll move on to our high school rugby segment to wrap this up. But first, what we really want to talk about here is Quinn for the Win. Pat Quinn, one of the founders of the Ice Bucket Challenge, raised hundreds of millions of dollars. And he's going to be here this weekend. He's, the area here. But, Pat's website, I'm trying to read it here, Q4TW.com. It's Quinn for the Win. ALS is a disease that never stops attacking. It's relentless and unforgiving. The challenge was just a start, but let's go to Quinn for the Win as Pat Quinn, wants to go further, and just a phenomenal story there. Rugby to the founder of the Ice Bucket Challenge. So it's going to be a big weekend here at Iona, here at Mazzella State. But let's go into our pick'ems here. I got to get back to our games so I can pick it up. Start with the first, and with Ryan, we have AIC versus homeschool host Iona.
Well, I love Iona, but I just think AIC is your team, so I'm going to take AIC, look for Iona on them, and I want to see if Coach Ciccarelli is corrected, if we can get AIC mad at themselves and what that does to them, because that's always flabbergasting for me when teams realize which color is which.
AIC got under Clemson's skin last year, so it's interesting. Great thing about the bowl series, matchups have been phenomenal, and year in, year out, you see very few blowouts. You see a lot of really close games. This one's going to be really close. Sorry, Bruce, I'm going to have to go with the Yellow Jackets. I'm going to go with AIC. I think it's going to be close. I think halftime score is going to be something like 12-9, and we'll see from there.
All right. What do you think is going to make anybody?
Speed. Jihad Kabir is, once he breaks through a couple of times, he's gone. That's it. That's all I got.
That, I think, in a little bit of experience, too, seeing how, the disciplinary issues with Iona, seeing how the guys come in and that, and if they're deer in the headlights or if they're putting their nose down.
Next up, Temple from University of Mary Washington. Traveling team, Fredericksburg. Is that the furthest? Maybe Binghamton? I don't know. It's but University of Mary Washington coming up. Great story. Temple, the Owls. What happens? Pick them.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Temple. I think that they have something to prove. And I think, like Alex said, they're on, they're off, they're on, they're off. And I think that if they're watching tonight, they're going to want to show Alex wrong. I think Temple's going to do that. I think Washington is going to be tough. Like they had a longer schedule, but maybe they're a little bit more dinged up than Temple.
A lot of experience, a lot of rugby experience in Mary Washington, as well as experience through the season. I think they'll pull away in half. So I look for maybe, I can't believe I'm saying it. Well, like a 20-point win. I really think, like 40-20. I think it'd be like close at halftime. Mary Washington's going to pull away. Yeah.
Wow, interesting there. Yeah, I think that Leicester, a couple of Leicester players, a couple of, finished super. So it should be interesting to watch in that game. But yeah, really looking forward to that one. Good. Start with you on the next. We go to Jerry Miro's Stony Brook. Rutgers coming up.
Stony Brook's progress. Put all those pieces together. Miss a couple of really big bodies up front from last year. Rutgers is having a very good season, I say. It's a slugfest. To be high scoring. I think wins.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think about 15-10, 15-20, somewhere in there. I think Rutgers is just gonna do what they do, forward ball. Yeah. So here you're saying nothing pretty, but Rutgers wins this one. Well, yeah. That's what we're hearing from you guys. It's pretty. It's just like pretty the way I play rugby, not the way those athletes who are sitting behind us. All right. That's matchups here, and let's go Sunday morning, 10 a.m. at the bowl series. We have the Blue Delaware versus Fordham. We have a couple of good schools here, some interesting stories, a lot of things going on. Yeah, well, but I think is the team to beat in this one. I think the Delaware is still a little bit. I think that has a little bit more experience and a little bit more size, and they were so tough last year. They just don't stop. When it's good, they stay level. When it's bad, they stay level. And so I think Fordham's just going to have a little bit better game. Delaware's going to come and give it all. With the way it's gone, I like Fordham a little bit. I have played on a team that was winless going into their last season, beginning of the season, and I've coached a team that was winless going to the last game of the season. And you identify that and say, we can win this. We can win this. And I kind of feel like sometimes that's the last spark that you need. And I'm going to go with Delaware. They're 0-8. Probably with that's in outside of 1-10 or something. I'm going to win.
All right. Interesting stories there. So
emotional.
Yeah. Right. Let's go to second matchup. You as Buffalo on Sunday. Should be an interesting one. We talked about that. Power and size?
Yeah, to be totally honest, I have absolutely no idea. I really don't. I mean, it could be. I just don't know. I think it's probably going to be Buffalo. I think in the end, Buffalo has some pretty dynamic players, and as you said, they're getting some scores in there. They've been working their way through. Maybe it's the same thing. I'm saying, if you had a tougher season, then you're going to win. That's kind of what I'm saying. But I could be wrong.
Yeah, UMass has had their doubts, and they're very good. I think that's really close throughout. The Buffalo's problem sometimes they have those lapses where they look good for, and then for first 10 minutes of the second, they're asleep. And if UMass can take advantage of that, it's going to turn some tides. But I think Buffalo overall has a better opportunity here.
All right. Final game of the weekend. Binghamton. Sorry, Binghamton. I didn't realize you were conference champions. And Loyola, Maryland. Really good matchup here. This is our last pick'em, boys. What do you think?
We had Loyola at the sevens, didn't we? Yeah. So we watched Loyola play the ACRC sevens in the spring, and they were sort of being coached by one of their players. Actually, I ended up like, your voice sounds really familiar. It turned out he was town very near where I grew up in England, and so he's like an English guy getting them going. They have some big guys. That's why they didn't do so well in sevens. They were very large and slow. But they've pummeled their guys in 15. Maybe that's they're gonna control the ball. I'm gonna go with Binghamton in this one. I think that Binghamton will show something they want to rebound from a really not very good performance against AIC last week. I think they want to show some conference pride. I think they've got some good players. I think Loyola's a good team, but I think Binghamton may actually have the unity on this one. Brian, what do you think?
I think I'm going to throw in with Loyola. Okay. Yeah, I think that they score enough. I think that yeah.
I was going to ask in a minute what you're wagering.
Yeah. I think that they have enough experience and enough grit to outlast Binghamton. I think that Binghamton's cracks have shown.
All right, that's all. So there you have it for the college side.
Didn't agree very much.
That's good though. We're going to see what you wager. We're going to carry through the weekend, and so that's a college games going on Saturday and Sunday. You got those matchups starting now. You can tune in right here at the URugby Bowl Series for 2016, and we're going to move on to some high school games. Maybe some high school sevens. And Alex is really the master of the high school scene in America. So we're on him very heavily, and we're going to bring in Matt soon to talk about some of the all-star rugby that's going on in the country. But we have some, we're just going to kind of talk briefly about our high school matchups and a very interesting week.
Well, I think this dovetails into something that we're seeing more of, the North American High School Sevens, which is an elite series of sevens with elite teams, Eagle Impact Academy, Utah Lions, Atlantis, Play Rugby USA, all those guys playing in a series that will be growing. This isn't that, but it's got teams playing in there. What you're also seeing is academies getting kids to come in, like Eagle Impact Rugby Academy, but more than out of us, Play Rugby, Ryan those guys doing these things where they come in on a Sunday, we'll work on skills, we'll develop. You want to be serious about this? Let's develop that. And then the kids look around and say, well, we also want to play rugby. So they play some ball. We see high school fall sevens. New York's got a series. Massachusetts got a series. New Jersey. All that stuff. So we're seeing kinds of things all dovetail to this. So it's not just a bunch of kids who got a phone call 3 days ago and said, hey, do you want to come out and play rugby? They actually taking this very, very seriously. They really want to play. And at the top of that list, Play Rugby USA and Eagle Impact Rugby Academy New York, ERA New York, Play Rugby. That's a really great game. Really cute story from that. Luke Persanis, who's the captain of ERA, Gettleman, who's the captain of Play Rugby. They first played their first rugby game against 6-7 years ago. Persanis came from, and his dad, working with this, came from not, let's start a high school team. They said, let's a team for our kids. And our kids are in middle school. And now they're a year older. Well, okay, we'll move it up. And it's like, now all these kids are in high school. Why don't we play some high school rugby? You saw that in Key Biscayne, Florida. We've seen that in Southern California. We've seen a lot of places. That's how it's organically done now. So while we're talking about college saying, we're getting a lot of guys who played rugby in high school, high school, they're saying we're getting a lot of guys who played rugby in middle school. Yeah. What is that? That's like phenomenal.
This is the organic growth. This is bringing up and forcing their high schools to have a team where you got that coming on. We're going to bring Matt Persanis, and we're actually going to ask Ryan, since he's more of a college specialist, to go. So before we get to Matt, before we get known Matt for a long time, let's cover the other matchups real quick, and then we'll talk just about his program and what's going on there in general. So we have the FAS Fire, the state of New York, and Keogh have a combined team. They're playing against Greenwich.
That's an interesting. They're combining and probably getting the better of their. Greenwich, a really good tradition, not only in rugby. They played sort of before a lot of high school teams played. Put some guys on, Americans, guys, some guys into prominent school programs. Very, very good program out of Greenwich, Connecticut. That'll be exciting to see. But the thing is, because they do attract, I don't know how many of them playing football. I don't know what their player availability is. So we'll see how it matches up.
Greenwich is turning into a rugby town. Yeah. Greenwich has the old Greenwich. Kids are playing at 6. When we had the state finals in Connecticut, which is where I'm from, 3 of the kids on the team for Greenwich had gone on tours before that to Argentina and to Italy. I mean, the rugby there is really growing and really phenomenal, so that is going to be a really good matchup. Now let's go quick to Fairfield High versus New York Rugby Club.
Fairfield High is another group. We got high school and the Fairfield Prep doing so well. Fairfield High had a great season in 15s last year. They're really pushing for that. New York, that actually is 7s. So I'm going to see a lot of, sort of a styles there. I think we'll see a lot of pace, a lot of athleticism from New York. That's possibly where their strength is.
All right. So, we're got about 5 minutes to go on the show here. We brought on Matt Persanis.
Hello. How are you?
Matt, long rugby guy in this area, coached Nyack for a while, very involved. Started some youth programs, coaching at Pelham, is working with Eagle Impact Rugby Academy. So I'm going to ask you to tell us a little about ERA, and then I'm going to turn it over to Alex to really grill you. So, sure. Matt, tell us all about it.
So ERA, a couple of years ago, I'd heard about my contact from Buffalo, a friend of mine, doing this program. And I'd heard about Salty Thompson, who kind of started it, who's the high school American coach. And it seemed like a good idea. The idea was take 30 local high school players who really push themselves and together in the off, so it doesn't interfere with anyone's season, and really try to up their skills. And, I talked to Mike a little bit about it, and then I said, well, this could be something we could really use in the area. We've got some really good between Xavier and Greenwich are right down the road. I like to think Pelham's had a good run in a couple of years. But, there's some really good teams in the area. Union, not too far. So I called Thompson. I said, tell me about this. Not being shy. I said, you know, let me know about it and let me know if you're interested. And if you're interested in me. And we hit it off, and, you know, like, be nuts, spent 40 minutes on the phone, not realizing we'd spent 40 minutes on the phone. And, you know, the entire time being told, are you coming in now? Because and I said, you know, this could really work. So last year we did it, and we had about 40 kids. And out of that group, we sent to high school All-American camp, and 2 of them wound up playing on the Ontario tour. And, you know, we really liked it. This year, we've got about 45 kids, and now we have 7 of them going to the winter camp. You know, 2 are returning, and 5 are going to be invited at first time. And we're getting younger kids now. The biggest group is probably the 9th grade group, 14, 15.
Now, are you kids coming to you, or are you looking for them? You're saying you should come to these era sessions, or people coming and saying,
they're coming. I really don't do any advertising. Don't do any real pushing. A lot of the coaches in the area, because I'm old. But the, you know, the biggest thing I think was, and what we do a little differently in New York City is we've pulled in coaches from a lot of programs. I pulled in a bunch of players, a bunch of coaches. Xavier's going to send some guys, and former NIAC guys, Mike Petrie, Justin Hunley.
They want that too. They want those, you know, the old guys, right? To get the knowledge, blah 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 knowledge. But to get a national team player, somebody who plays in the national team, somebody they've seen on TV, that's big.
I mean, we're gonna have Jeff who's capped in 15s and 7s.
Right.
Nate Brakeley's gonna come. You know, Mike Petrie's gonna be there. They don't want to see me. They want to see them. And I know it, and that's why I get them. You know.
That's right.
Yeah,
well, yeah. I mentioned talking about the development of school and like other places have done this where, you know, they're just coaching their kids, we're just having some fun, and suddenly you've built this program, and that is how it came about, right?
Yeah. So it came about 8.5 years ago. I was still sort of playing, and my was playing baseball. I came to a game because I had a rugby game that night, and I came and I was going to go right to the other, and I had on something that said rugby, you know. And a father comes running out to me, and he goes, "You have to start rugby in Pelham." And I said, "No." You know, because I'd seen it done, and I'd seen friends fail. You know, I got my son has 9 kids who want to play. We're going to start a high school. And they kind of get it, and the next year, because 8 kids graduate. And I said, "I'm not doing it. I don't have time. I don't have the interest in organizing." And he said, "No." I said, yeah, I'm not doing it." And unfortunately, my son had 10 baseball games that year. And this guy was on me. And, you know, eventually I said, "What's it going to take for you to leave me alone? Got to start it." I said, "I could do it, but we've got to do it with a friend of mine, Christian Mayo, who's like the seat of rugby."
Right.
And, you know, he started the Play Rugby group. He's the one who Noah Gettleman started playing with at Manhattan. You know, Rockaway was his. We said, let's do it. And fortunately, we get the town of Pelham to get behind us. And we started middle school and elementary school flag. Didn't even think of high school. And after a couple of years of doing it, the kids were flag, but they wanted to tackle, play real rugby. Started doing U15, U13. Then it changed to U14, U16. Yeah. And then we just said, let's try it.
All right. So we're just, you know, kind of wrapping up here. We're going to have you in the booth over the weekend. I want to talk to you some more about this program.
Yeah, I can talk a lot.
Fine. I'm going to go. You are an attorney. I'll give you that. And, but, you know, let's talk about the team this weekend. Like, you know a lot of these kids. Just give me 2, 3 names, kids we should watch for the future.
You know, I think the ERA team's going to be exciting. High school Americans on it. They'll be exciting to watch. There's a couple of kids who are high school All-American invitees in that game. A couple on the side, a couple on the ERA side.
Names at us?
Tom Troussard is on there. Thanks, my son Luke. Mike Jennings. They're all Luke Salt. They're all camp invitees or for high school.
Anybody you know on some of the other teams?
Yeah.
Nathan Salter.
Nathan Salter is an invitee.
From Play Rugby.
He's from Xavier. Actually, came through Play Rugby. He's not going to be there.
And I think we're being wrapped up, so we're running out of time.
I was trying to say we're being wrapped up. That's our bell. Great timing there. Matt Persanis, thank you. Alex Goff, Goff Rugby Report. Ryan Troth, This is American Rugby, thank you. Steve Ciano, the man, the myth, the legend, doing all the work. come out here and talk. This is the 2019 URugby Bowl. We're going to be coming to you all weekend. Start with a high school game at 9:20 tomorrow morning. Wrapping up tomorrow afternoon. We're going to be all day on Sunday, too. Great rugby matchups. Guys, really looking good. Let's hear it.
Come on, you should have warned him. You know I could talk.
Well, no, you sounded like you were wrapping up, so we were good.